Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Public Announcement Podcast. And today we have an interesting topic, something that I actually talked about a bit in our last episode, which was titled on Simps and Cucks. And I think I even said that I'm gonna make an episode on this because there have been some updates in the dating community. You know that we did a podcast on the dating community a while back, but I just felt like we need to return to what has happened and how the landscape has changed, because I think it has shaped the internet, or at least the internet community in some ways. So today we are going to talk about the fall of the dating community and how these microgroups have acted after this has pretty much happened, or how the internet reacted to this. So what do I mean by the fall of the dating community? Well, you can easily observe this with the amount of video being produced on the given topic. We have to understand that the dating community was part of the red pill community, which is the entire kind of like mindset where you are searching for the truth, and the dating community was focused on, well, what the name implies, dating in question. That means that the dating community was intertwining with the red pill community, but it was not exactly the same thing. You know, you had your red pillars, and then you had the people who focused on the dating only, and these dating coaches. They didn't talk about how women are bad, or they didn't talk about I don't know, some Trump problems or whatever the red pill community talks about these days. They mostly focused on dating and sex and how to get women and how to get laid. You know, those typical stuff that every red pillar wants, and you know, stuff like that. Out of this, of course, some groups have emerged, or at least groups that have been named have emerged. So we had the MGTOW movement, if you remember. Those were the people who said they don't need women in a desperate attempt to get women, right? They said they don't want women. They are men who just go their own way, and they will try to find some meaning, or well, they talked about some shit like that in their videos or in their posts. You know, then you had the entire incel community, you know, those people who were angry at women that they couldn't get sex, or they pretty much realized that they haven't really won the genetic lottery and they weren't getting the female attention they needed, you know, and those had their micro groups. The MGTOWs had their micro groups, but as the name implies, the fall of dating community began when most of these videos that were produced on a very large basis, maybe 2 or 1 or 2 or even 3 years ago, these videos from the dating coaches, first of all, they were produced for free. You could view them at any time, and they were produced in large quantities. Now, what has happened with the dating community is that not many channels have survived till this present day. Not many channels are thriving as they used to, and some channels even got cancelled, and most of the channels that are still thriving, or thriving in big quotation marks, are privatized. What do I mean by this? They are paid now. You have to go on Patreon and pay to see videos, right? Because no longer are these videos there to drag customers in, because the fan base has been so dried out. There is nobody to influence anymore, or the people that already wanted the videos are already hooked in. And that's when the second phase came in, and that's when the original dating community fell apart, because suddenly you have private videos, and people are starting to wonder, you know, do I spend my money on this coach or I don't? Most of the people did, you know. Most of the people that were really dragged into the bullshit, they did. They gave them their $5. Now they have premium content. They haven't fucked a single woman since, but okay, you know, they have their premium content. Everything's fine. But there was a large demographic which was just left like, okay, what do we do now? What is going to happen? You know, and you know, you can see these people spread around. There was the entire MGTOW subreddit on Reddit. I think there still is, right? The people started posting all this bullshit, started talking about females. These are not people who I think pay for the coaches. I think these are the people who were there when the videos were free, but once there aren't, they just leave. You know, there is no incentive to be on the channel when they don't have content they can view for free. So these groups created and they started to be on social media, right? Because that was sort of like a meeting place. Of course, Reddit is the obvious choice because let's be honest here, Reddit has the best community interface you can imagine. Facebook has their own, I believe even Instagram to a certain extent has their sort of like community bullshit, but Reddit is certainly made for subreddits, which are like mini communities, right? A certain subreddit made to be specific about a certain topic. You have r/ whatever the fuck you want, any keyword, and that subreddit is going to be focused on that singular keyword. And in these groups, right, after this, they have gained fans, they have gained everything, but there has not been any sort of development with them. They are just communities that stay there and talk about the casual shit. So you might ask, where has the large demographic gone? We all know on Reddit they are not really welcomed. Those actual kind of like the more radical demographic, right? The people who actually hate females, the people who actually don't want to date, the people with opinions that not everybody wants to hear, right? We know that Reddit is slowly becoming, just a machine for one agenda, right? There have been massive bannings in the subreddits, massive cleansing in a way of people who just said an opinion that really wasn't in terms of services or whatever the fuck they call those documents. And you can see that Reddit is sort of becoming a place where these people are not welcome. So they probably will just leave for 4chan, or they will go on like BitChute or other sites that are supposedly not controlled by the government or some lefties, right? So they will reside there. But we still have the large demographic that has lots of time on their hands and lots of money to spend. Now, the money is secondary here, but lots of the time on their hands is important, because I would like to draw the parallel between here and the simps. Now, the simps, alright, I think, the simps and the coomers, the coomers are also important, were a problem that was not created a year ago. It was a problem that was here forever. However, notice that the discussion started when the dating community is starting to fall. Now, don't have concrete evidence on this, but it only makes sense. The demographic, which was alienated by the privatization of the dating community, of them not having their free videos anymore, switched their lanes and started to criticize and started to point towards the other community. They started raising questions. Who are these Twitch streamers? I remember the entire FOT raid on like private Instagrams where they reported them for tax evasions. That happened last year. That was when the dating community was slowly starting to go downhill, when the videos were slowly starting to privatize. I remember that they were that we have recently had a month ago or so the discussion on simps, right? There was a large incentive to make fun of iDubbbz. There was that OK Bernie girl we discussed last podcast. That all happened this year, and even the Coomer meme, right? That all happened this year. And I'm not even talking about the Coomer subreddit, right, which now is banned, but that was all created this year. These things are pretty modern. This discussion was not raised before, but I say the problems have existed. It's just that the demographic, which was supposed to oppose the problems, suddenly has lots of time on their hands, so they actually have time to solve it. Now, I don't think we can attribute the dating community directly, but if it has done something correctly, it is that it has raised a demographic, or it has raised an audience which doesn't like the other side of the audience. It has sort of radicalized the audience, and that makes for an interesting discussion. I think today we have much more people that are sitting on the fence on the entire simping to women discussion, right? And they're getting the right opinions, because once you are sitting on the fence and you're not directly engaging into the battle, you can see the opinions, you can see the discussions, and you can make a coherent answer to your problems. I'm not saying that the fall of the dating community solved misery and solved world hunger, but what I'm instead saying, it is slowly starting to create a demographic which sees the importance of making a compromise on the grounds. They see that porn and simping and everything, the one extreme is not good. But they do see that those fucking Chad wannabes are also not their way to go, right? Because one community alienated them by saying, okay, you have to pay for what I do. And the other community is directly opposed to their morals. That's why you see, at least in my opinion, so many subreddits, so many communities created which focus on either, exposing porn, which focus on battling porn, which focus on shaming coomers, which focus on battling simps, shaming simps, which also focus on the thoughts themselves, right? On the girls. Is this a positive? Is this a negative? You cannot say right now, but I think in the long term, if we look at it, it is a positive because more people are engaged in the discussion and therefore we can get the wheels going and we can get many different opinions around and we can probably build a coherent answer to the problem in a year or two, right? So to sum it up, to make a conclusion out of all of this, because I know it was a lot, but what I was trying to say with this video is the fall of the dating community marked an end to the stability between the two poles on the question of dating. On one hand, you have the simps, the woman worshippers, the people who jerk off 10 times a day, those types of people. That's one pole. And on the second side, you've got those ultra manly wannabe alpha male type of guys, who wouldn't even laugh at a woman's joke because she's a woman, right? Or something like that. And in the middle, you're starting to develop a large demographic which is sitting right into the middle. They don't like females as their queens and as somebody to be worshipped, but they don't like the degenerates on the other side too. And this is good because we are getting for the first time a fucking discussion going on. And this is a problem that I do deem important. I don't expect we will solve something big or we will provide an answer which will last centuries, but we will at least get people to talk about it, and some people might better themselves and realize they're making a mistake by being in one of those opposing groups. I'm not calling for the destruction of Twitch and burning the e-girls at stake or at not buying any of the dating coaches videos. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting your opinions to a state where you know what you stand for and you can engage in public discussion and make your views, and rationalize your views, most importantly, and make other people either accept or challenge your views. And that is the important thing. That is what I think we missed, and I'm very happy that we are getting it. A fucking discussion. And yeah, that will be the end of this episode for now. Thank you all for listening, even in these tougher times. I will get this video episode as soon as possible on YouTube. I'm promising. I'm still working on that. Make sure, if you haven't already and you are a new subscriber or you are a new viewer, you can engage in my mailing list, right? You can sign up there and you will get emails with new episodes, and there even is a free newsletter bringing you the biggest news that happened this week. It's delivered on every weekend. I just send out one, right? So make sure to sign up on that mailing list if you want to stay updated and you liked my podcast. And yeah, as I already mentioned, that is all for now. Thank you for listening and stay safe, people.